What's up, everybody? I forgot to turn all the lights on. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. And you're gonna have to watch me turn all the lights on in the room to make it look sexy in here. So, yeah, hold on. Hold on. Unprofessional streamer does unprofessional things in the first 5 seconds of the stream. There we go. That looks a little bit better. And getting there, all right. Now we're gonna go over here and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and a little bit of that, and a little bit of that. And there we go, maximum sexiness. You're welcome. Jason Crabtree, Alpha Sloth, Freelo Joe, Zach Cagley, Frank Nicholas, Collecting Retro, Collecting Retro, that's a cool name. Big Daddy Remy Tim, Random FPV, Patio Patterson, DJ CJX, and that's everybody. What's up, people? Welcome to your Saturday Patreon stream. If you don't know, I stream each and every day, within reason, for my awesome patrons. If you want to join the Patreon page, all you got to do is head on over to CiottiFPV.com. It's the very first link. It's going to cost you $3 whole a month, which is 10 cents a day. These streams are usually about 2 hours, so that's 10 cents for a 2-hour stream. That's a pretty good deal. If you don't agree, fuck you. I think you're not supposed to drop F-bombs in like the first few minutes of live stream or just like videos in general on YouTube. But we're 7 minutes in, so hopefully you know, I got away with that one. You guys want to review some footage? So I have BLHeli 32.8 results that we can take a look at. And Techno FPV. Techno, you weren't on the list when I read through it. You gotta get here early if you want to hear your name read by a gangly, lanky, big-toothed jackass. Yeah, you guys want to look at some footage? I don't know why I'm asking. I'm gonna show you guys anyway. BLHeli 32.8 is the real deal. It allows you to set a low and high PWM frequency. So for the low, you put it to 24. For the high, you put it to 48. And it works beautifully. There's the imposter. It works really well. I'm pretty shocked as to how much of the Throttle Chop bobble it gets rid of. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is some flight footage from these T-Motor 4943s. A beautiful propeller. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of power. Just double checking. Yeah, 4943. I like everything about these. Well, no, they're not very durable either. Not durable, not a lot of horsepower. Everything else about them is great. They're efficient, incredible throttle resolution. You know what they are? They're S3. They're S3s. They do everything that S3s do, but more efficiently. And they weigh, holy Christ, are they lightweight. 3.5 grams on my scale. Man, that's really light. I think the S3s are 3.6 grams. So yeah, these are a more efficient, but probably a little bit less durable S3. And again, this is the T-Motor 4943. It's not the propeller for me. It doesn't make enough power for me. But wait until you see how this thing handles with BLHeli 32.8. Wait till you see how this handles the Throttle Chop bobbles. I'm going to play a battery from this right now. They're gone. Like, they're they're just gone. I'm on the heavier Gemfan 5143 threes, they're not totally gone, but on these lightweight, small, low pitch, low thrust boys, Throttle Chop bobbles are completely gone, and I don't get it. I can't believe that we live in a world where that can happen. So let me shut up and just play this for you so you can see what I mean. This is a really cool spot too, right around the corner from me actually. First time flying there, so don't be too cruel. I might as well just kind of leave it here, and I can kind of talk over it, because there's really, you know, I mean, you'll hear the prop sounds coming through. So this is I am flying the glide frame with a this is the one with an Acon 20 by 20, Acon 30 by 30 AK32, and T-Motor F40 Pro 2s. And this is me just trying to get a feel for the props. This is also me just being a lunatic. Adam and Rusty were looking for a GoPro battery, so I was screaming at them, "Does this help? Is this helping? Is this helping? Am I helping?" I wasn't. But here you go. I test out the Throttle Chop pretty soon here. Let's give it a second. Here, I'll give you volume just so you can hear these props. Just kind of trying to get used to the props. There you go. Look at that. Look at that. Did you guys see that? Like, gone. I can actually see a tiny little something. It's not a bobble, but it's actually a little pitch. I might just need to put a little bit more P gain on the pitch. Look at that. Alright, so they're not totally gone. In the FPV goggles, I thought they were completely gone. But that is the most controlled I have ever seen Throttle Chop bobbles. I just kept doing it because I just kind of couldn't believe it. Look at that. That's a session 5. Obviously no stabilization. Crazy. Crazy, 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 crazy. Yeah, BLHeli 32.8 is the real deal. It is the real deal. I do that test again on the Gemfan props in a little bit, so we'll take a look at that. But yeah, on a really lightweight propeller, that's crazy. That is a crazy amount of control when just going from full throttle to just 0 instantly, with, like, on purpose, like as sharp as possible. You know, when you're flying for real, you never just chop the throttle all the way down as hard as you can like that. You try to bring it down as slowly as you can, really. But when you're wanting to really try to look at bad behaviors, you do everything very drastic to bring those bad behaviors out. Really fun spot. Kind of small, but a really interesting set of things to kind of play around. I'm gonna give this tune on this rig a little bit of love. This rig, I moved this from F40 Pro 4s to F40 Pro 2s, so I need to give it a little bit more, so the Pro 2s have a little bit less power, so I just need to give it a little bit more P and D gain. There's just, there's some little bobbles here and there that I'm seeing. Tight spot, man. Really, really tight spot. I'm usually not great in tight spots either, but I'm trying to get used to them. Really small spots like this are not my strong suit, but getting better. Just takes time. And this was also on the, this rig has the Caddx Baby Ratel Nano too, and I don't like it. I'm really, later in the day, the last 2 batteries I flew were on a Foxier Predator Nano 4, and I like it a lot better. I like it a lot more. I don't know why, but I literally fly better with it. I don't fly as good with this camera. Fun little spot, man. I can't wait to go back here. There's a really sketchy power loop in there that we'll go after in a second. These props these 4943s are actually pretty well suited for this spot, other than the fact that they're not durable. But they've got tons of throttle resolution, which is really, really good for a super tight, super technical spot like this. But I actually still prefer the Gemfan 5143s. Having access to more, I would rather have access to more power and sacrifice a little bit of throttle resolution. I think one of the blades blew up. Yeah, so that was the first battery at that spot. Let me get caught up on the chat real quick here. Oh, by the way, if you want to talk directly to me, all you've got to do is type my name into the chat, like these fine young lads did here. When you type CiottiFPV or at CiottiFPV, it lights up in orange. And I know that you're talking to me. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that you guys are talking amongst yourselves, which you should, because it's an amazing group of people that hang out in my live streams here. And I've loved seeing you guys, yeah, become friends and fly with each other and, you know, give each other hugs and kisses. Yeah, today's shirt is one of my favorites. I try not to wear it too often because it's starting to wear out. But yeah, this is, this saying is the founder of Lotus, Colin Chapman's famous, like most famous quote. And I kind of live my life by this. I build race cars by this. I build quads by this, and I literally live my life by this, man. Just simplify your life, and just, you know, be a skinny man, and add lightness to you. This is my excuse for being such a skinny bastard. Although I won't be this skinny for long, man. I'm actually putting on a little bit of muscle. It's crazy. Yoga, dude. Yoga, pull-ups, push-ups. Eating protein. I don't know. It's almost like science or something. Remy Tim says, "What's up, folks? Tuning in from Denver, Colorado. Just used my stimulus check to get about $260 worth of gear. I've been waiting forever to get, and I used your GetFPV affiliate link. Very cool, Remy Tim. I appreciate that. Speaking of, here, let me keep the lights on in this motherfucker real quick. If you go to CiottiFPV.com, there's a million different ways that you can support me. The Patreon page is the closest thing that I have to a paycheck, and there's all kinds of benefits to joining the Patreon. So if you're going to do anything, this is the thing that kind of helps me the most. Here's a bunch of my social nonsense. Over on Etsy, I've got some really cool stickers and some random hardware, so there's some good stuff over there. Over on Fiverr, I'm doing flight instruction, coaching, tuning, and build planning, as well as video editing if you really need it. So lots of cool stuff going on Fiverr. Let me work for you. I wanna help you out. I've got a lot of experience, and I want to provide my experience to the universe to make the world a better place. This is going to drive to Teespring. We've got some really cool t-shirts and mugs and sweatshirts and stuff. This is my page, my profile on FPV Exchange, with a couple things that I'm selling over there, which is pretty cool. FPV Exchange is a wonderful website that if you're not on, you should go right now. FPV Exchange has been incredibly gracious with providing things to this channel for giveaways and just, yeah. So show them some love. Head on over to FPV Exchange, set up an account. You're going to love it. And then I got a bunch of affiliate links. So like if you guys are doing an order on FPV Cycle, Amazon, Get FPV, Oh My God's website, FPV Crate, Banggood, or AliExpress, or Camera Butter, all you got to do is hit one of these affiliate links. Like for example, right now, since I'm bad at remembering, I can go like this. And so now I've hit all my affiliate links, right? Which put my Ciotti code. There it is, right? It put that code into all of the shopping carts. So next time I do an order on any one of these websites, I'll get it varies, but anywhere from like 1 to 6%. Amazon is closer to like 1 or 2%. But like Oh My God's website, it's 6%. Camera Butter, I think it's 6%. FPV Crate, I think it's 6%. So it really makes a big difference, and there's kind of no reason not to do it. So there you go. And then of course there's some other fun stuff down here. Here's a link over to FPV Therapy, which is a really cool group that I started about a year ago over on Facebook surrounding mental health. This is not a group to drop flight edits. This is a group to talk about mental illness and mental health and how to just live a little bit better of a life if you suffer with those things, or if someone around you suffers with those things. So come on over. Here's some BattleBots info. This is a good one. There's a link to the Discord. If you don't want to join the Patreon, you can still join the Discord, but you don't kind of get everything. For $3 whole a month, that's what it costs to get all the channels on Discord, and a bunch of other really good stuff. There's my Facebook, PayPal, and that's about it. This PayPal link is a way for you just to like send money directly to me. If you don't want to do a super chat because you don't want YouTube to get 30%, you can just hit that PayPal button, and then I'll get a little notification up in my corner, and I'll give you a shout out. But if you do that, do me a favor and tag me in the chat and say, yo, Ciotti, I just sent you $4.20, the weed number on PayPal, or whatever it may be. So there we go. There's my shill for the day. Thanks for staying and listening. In the chat, what else do we have? Random FPV says, make it sexy. Freelojo says, that is a Caterham 7 on your shirt. It is indeed. Double A says, hello there. What's up, brother? Random FPV says, my 7-year-old son made in his 5-inch Apex yesterday. Went beautifully. Very cool. That's dope, Random, and scary. Young people flying 5-inch rigs is nutty, but I'm sure you're keeping an eye. Ghost Branch says hello. Freelojo says hello. He says those props sound hollow. It's weird. Supercell's in the house. What's up, Billy? He says, been meaning to ask you, what sim are you playing? I got a Fanatec get up and was gonna race some with you. I was doing Gran Turismo Sport for a little while, but that was when I was in a pretty rough place mentally. Just kind of being as kind to myself as I could. Now that I'm in a little bit of a better place, I haven't really been playing video games. I've been really focusing on FPV more. I don't have to do as much self-care at the moment, which is good because it allows me to get a lot more FPV stuff done, which is really important since it's my full-time job now. So yeah, every so often I'll fire up Gran Turismo Sport, but it's like once or twice a week at this point, and I'm usually only in there for like 15 minutes just to get like the daily miles and to get the free car that they give me. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I would love to spend a little bit more time on GT Sport if I were to. I don't know. My birthday's coming up in April, and I'm silently crossing my fingers that somebody in my life will get me a play seat challenge, which is like a lawn chair but designed for a wheel and pedals to be set up on it, and then I can get a used set of wheel and pedals. The controller is fine for Gran Turismo Sport. It's actually shockingly good, but it's just not the same. You know, I've got this almost 15-year background in motorsports, and I've spent a lot of time, you know, figuring out what is happening through my fingertips on the steering wheel, and not having that with a controller kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it. But we'll see. It's all good. DJ CJX says, building the JB Xylo tomorrow. Any thoughts? No, take your time. Use Flux and do it right the first time. And overthink it. There you go. There's some thoughts. Ghost Branch says, yo, talking to you. How's it going, my man? I'm good, brother. Robert Davis says, what up? Frank Nicholas dropping a link to CiottiFPV.com. Thanks, dude. Double A says, speaking of yoga, I might have something you'd be interested in. I will try to remember to hit you up later. Sounds good. Robert Davis says, are you in Georgia? I am. I'm in Atlanta. I'm in Statesboro U near Alt or Sav. I've only been in Atlanta for like 2 years, and it's been pandemic for the majority of that, so I don't really know Georgia all that well. So I don't know Statesboro or Alt or Sav. Atlanta is also kind of like probably going to be like a stepping stone. So I'm not like super driven to like learn all of Georgia, because I would really like to. The move to here was just to get out of Charleston because the cost of living was going nuclear, and the job market is a complete nightmare. So the move here was to just, we kind of just found the closest city where we could actually make some real money, and not get murdered on rent anymore. But yeah, the point to moving here was just to try to stack up cash and then get to the West Coast, hopefully Portland, Oregon, or somewhere around there. So yeah, but I don't know. We might stay here a little bit longer. We'll see. It depends. Depends on what happens with real life stuff that's in super crazy nutso flux right now. But that's life sometimes. Things change. Ramdonko says, yep, should do your $40 deal on FPV Exchange for me. What's the $40 deal on FPV Exchange? I don't know what that is. I should probably know what that is. Chomper FPV is here. What's up, brother? Ramdonko says, you bastard, but the chair and wheel is amazing. BeepTube says, I accidentally shorted out the camera, VTX, and part of the flight controller on my 6-inch Sharkbite Glide while trying to refocus the camera. Oh my god. The MIPI connector touched the VBAT pad on the flight controller. Good times. Oh, BeepTube. Oh. Everybody pour one out for BeepTube. That sucks, man. That's the worst when you just can't blame anything else. when like something happens and you're just like, that was all my fault. And it usually happens when you're like trying to not do it the right way, or like rush it, or like, oh, I don't want to take the top plate off, I'll just jam a screwdriver in there. Not saying that's what you did, BeepTube, but that's typically what I do. Ryzek says, crazy what's going on with the EPA with racing and tuning a home-built race car, drift car, drag car. Yeah, I've seen that a little bit. I don't know. With my current plan of selling the Miata once I get it back, and just the reality that I'm not going to be able to afford to play race cars anymore, which is totally fine. I played lots of race cars for lots of years, had an absolute blast with it. Simulators are fantastic, and so yeah, it's not really heartbreaking that I probably won't be able to do real race car things moving forward. So yeah, it's funny with all that stuff happened with the EPA. I'm kind of like, well, it's a good time for me to leave that behind, I guess. Which feels weird, but is what it is. Rick's FPV says, is BLHeli S still good with these day setting? BLHeli S is totally fine. It doesn't have the variable PWM frequency, which is kind of a shame, but it's still totally fine. Yeah, it's great. Ricardo Faria says, hi, do you own a multimeter? I do, as should everybody. If you're into FPV and you don't own a multimeter, get one. You're going to need it soon enough. BeepTube says, yeah, I had the camera loose so I could get to the locking ring with goggles on. I had just gotten the tune and everything close to perfect. Oh well, just finished a shark bite toothpick. Yeah, trying to focus the cameras is a real pain in the ass. Freelojo says, daily your race car? I have for about 15 years. No, longer than that. About 15 years. I've dailied my one or the other of my race cars. Alpha Slaw says, not that anyone else but me would care, but I got my wobbly 75mm whoop tuned and it flies amazing now. Thank you, Ciotti and Collective, mostly UAV tech, lol. Alpha Sloth, what did you have to do to get it going? It's strange. My 75mm whoop on 1102s has been like pretty locked in from the get-go. My guess would be if yours was wobbly, it's probably on 0802s, and you probably pushed your P and D gains up about 20 or so points, would be my guess. But let the people know. Z says, yo, Ciotti and Collective. What's up, Carazales? Techno FPV says, what's EPA and what happened with them? Basically, the EPA is cracking down on people that build tuner cars and just car modifications in general, which is kind of silly because the number of people that actually modify cars is very, very, very small. Like probably less than 1% of the cars on the road. No, definitely less than 1% of the cars on the road. So it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like by cracking down on car modding, it just doesn't do anything because there's so few of those cars, right? Like it's you're gonna reduce emissions by 0.00001%. But you know, it's the flip side of it is that we've beat the living shit out of the earth that we're on, and we need to stop. And it's like it's hard to be like, yeah, we're gonna be better, but you know, just this little group of people that tunes their cars to pour black smoke into the atmosphere, we're gonna let them keep doing it. You know, it's like, I get it, but I'm not happy about it. But I get it, but yeah, it's I see both sides of it, as I try to with as many things in life as possible. Rick's FPV says, thank you. You are certainly welcome. Alpha Sauce says, typo meant lower, like way lower. What? Oh, lower P gain. Really? Interesting. So alternatively, instead of lowering P gain, as long as the motors aren't getting hot, you can raise the D gain. The P and the D gain, if you're getting oscillations, that is, like what Alpha Sauce was talking about. Squints FPV's in the house. What's going on, Adam? He was standing right next to me during that battery there, during all the flying I did today. Ramdonko says, peeps have Betaflight pop up on their Tango 2 screens. How? What? Having a one-step left issue. What? Ram, I think Ram might have had a stroke. Somebody call the police. Send an ambulance to Rams. I think he's stroking out. I don't know anything about the Tango 2. Ram says rolling coal. Yeah, I blame it all on those people. I blame it all on the diesel truck. What can I say here that's not so mean? Dude bros. There we go. And they're dumbass bro-dozers. Yeah, next time you see an idiot rolling coal, scream at him, nice bro-dozer, dude. And they won't understand, but you'll feel better. Ryzex, Techno FPV says, too bad I got an S2000, not going to change my tune for them. Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna crack down on it. Although maybe, I don't know. Cops are kind of dicks. I mean, cops make a ton of money writing tickets for cars, so police departments typically, incentivize the officers to do that. Maybe not incentivize, maybe beat them into doing it. So maybe it will be enforced, unfortunately, because it's a good money making opportunity for them. But we won't go down that rabbit hole because that'll be like a 20-minute rant. Z says clothing, airline transportation, and fluorinated gases. What? What are we talking about, Z? I'm lost. Todd Stafford says, FPV, if you were just starting out and was able to choose, which would you pick, Shark Bite or DJI? Analog, to be honest. I don't know, man. The DJI is awful expensive. So is Shark Bite. Digital is awful expensive, all things considered. Just the whole like $120-ish, $120 to $150 for a VTX and a camera. That's pretty harsh, man. When I started this, some of the worst causes of environmental dangers. Got it, Z. Got it. Yeah, I don't know. It's awful expensive. It really is. And the latency things, and like it's still not. I don't know. They're also kind of new products right now. I don't know. You know what really kills me about DJI is the OSD situation, man. Like that, it is not good. Like I'm really not interested in moving to DJI until they figure out the OSD stuff. I can't fly without some of the stuff that's in my OSD that I don't think you can get in DJI. But mainly just like $120 to $150 for a VTX and a camera, like that's just way too much for me. I was starting to say when I got into this hobby, I was unemployed. And like the whole time I've been in this hobby, like I've really tried to keep it as much of a budget as possible. And like digital is just the opposite of that, man. It is just not on a budget. So yeah, I don't know. It's not for me, but if you have the money, you're gonna see more. You're gonna be able to see Scraggle. I'm getting behind on chat here. Where am I at? TechnoFPV says, I don't think diesel is as bad for the environment as gas. I mean, it's all bad. Oh God. I mean, the diesel that we get here in the U.S. is pretty nasty. I'm the biggest problem that I have with dirty diesel here in the U.S. is that it increases your chances to have allergies by something like 600%. I didn't have allergies for my entire life until I started living somewhat near a highway in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, a long time ago. If you live like 1,000 yards, I want to say, from like a major highway that has tractor trailers ripping up and down it all the time, the diesel fumes they're really murder. And I had a really hard time with my allergies, and it was really nasty. So yeah, clean diesel over in Europe is great, but the oil companies here in the U.S. don't make money from clean diesel, so they consistently do things to make sure that we can't get it, which is particularly evil. But hey, that's life. Freelo Joe says E85 race car, more power and cleaner running, and rolling coals waste of fuel. It's actually unburnt diesel. It is indeed. E85 unfortunately is not really good for the environment. It takes too much energy to produce. So it's a great race fuel, but it's actually really not all that good for the environment, unfortunately. It also takes a ton of space to grow. To be able to grow it, and the yield is not really all that great, so it's not the answer, unfortunately. It's also really hard on fuel systems. Ryzek says they've been going around shutting down tuning shops and fab garages. Oh wow, I didn't know it was that bad. Jesus. It's been a week and close to 20 shops have been closed down. Jesus, that's scary. That's really scary. Frank Nicholas says, what do you think is missing on DJI OSD? Oh man, I forget. I was talking about it with somebody like last week or the week before, and I don't remember, but whatever they were, yeah, it was the end of the conversation out, and I remember saying like that's kind of a deal breaker for me. So yeah, I don't specifically remember what it was, but it's yeah, it's just not for me. That's okay. Doesn't need to be. B-Man says, what's up? 159 for the Caddx. Yeah, I mean, that's just absurd. Frank Nicholas says, if you fly DJI transmitter, $120 to $150 includes VTX, HD camera, and RX. That's true. I find the DJI transmitter to be horrifying. Yeah, it is definitely not for me. I don't know whose hands it's for, but it's definitely not for my hands. But yeah, that's true. If you can stomach that DJI transmitter, I cannot stand the switches on it. Those tiny little dinky ass switches, like, ooh, not for me. Todd Stafford says, so basically SharkBite, as you have analog and you can go digital when and if the prices go down. I don't know about that, Todd. Everything that I hear about SharkBite says that the VTX is super fragile, and it's still really expensive. So I'm still analog, man. And also, I don't know, I got to do a little more research on the latency of SharkBite. I don't know. We'll see. Z says DJI is dragging their feet so hard on the OSD necessities. Yeah, I cannot believe. I cannot believe that that's not been like figured out yet. It just seems ridiculous. Ramdonko says, thinking of the freedom era of cells, CiottiFPV, so I'm pro analog. Freedom era of cells? 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 What do you mean? What's cells? RC Ritter says biodiesel. That's the other name for clean diesel. That's probably the proper name for clean diesel. B-Man says, the only thing I can say about DJI is I feel more confident and I can see it in my flying because I can see more. Yeah, the couple times that I've flown DJI, it was really nice to be able to see where I'm going. But to be honest, like when I get into it and like I'm actually in somewhat of a decent flow when I'm flying, I just like I don't really care. They're like whatever the momentum of the rig is doing, like I'm going. And if there's something there, like I'm not gonna avoid it. I'm not gonna make a correction to avoid it. I'm just gonna smash through it, or I'm gonna make it. So like being able to see more, like yeah, I'm sure it would make me a little bit better. But then there's all the issues with the latency changing and Steele's not flying DJI. And that's all I'll say about that, because it's kind of all I have to say about that. He does have a DJI rig, but he don't fly it. Quadzimoto says, I have 2 glides with T-Motor ESC Velox. What can possibly break these ESCs? I do fly hard and always trying new tricks, but they should be stronger than that. Your thoughts, please. Oh, I was saying that I thought you were saying that that you couldn't break the ESCs. Let me reread it. I have 2 glides with T-Motor ESCs Velox. So I think you're saying that you have the Velox ESCs. What can possibly break these ESCs? I do fly hard and always trying new tricks, but they should be stronger than that. Your thoughts, please. So I think maybe Quadzimoto is saying that he has 2 glides and he's broken both Velox T-Motor ESCs. I mean, my initial thought is just to buy a better ESC. The Velox line is the economy, the cheap line, and every single cheap ESC I've ever bought has failed. ESC seems to be like the one spot where you want to spend the money. I talk all the time about Acon ESCs. For me, they've been like absolutely bomb-proof. So yeah, that would be my suggestion, is to move over to Acon ESCs. You're going to spend more money, but you get what you pay for sure. Freelojo says, okay, stop talking fuel. I've done a lot of research. Flip side is look up blue crude, long chain hydrocarbon from water. Very cool. Yeah, there's hydrogen in water. We just need to figure out a way to get it out of there. My understanding is that it's very difficult to get hydrogen out of water, and very expensive. But if we can figure it out, there's a whole bunch of water on the planet. Frank Nicholas says $120 to $150. DJI also includes antennas, another $20. Or maybe $40 when you consider VTX and RX antennas. Yeah, I'm probably wrong about one. I'm more than likely wrong. I mean, I'm always wrong, but I'm more than likely wrong about analog being the way to go. It's the way that it's better for me. But I'm an individual that has a very specific set of, whatever. So yeah, I'm sure you guys are right. DJI is, yeah, go with DJI. Unless you want to be like me, then go with analog. Frank Douglas says, what do you think is missing in DJI OSD? We talked about that a minute ago. B-Man says the Caddx is better than the DJI unit because it's smaller. You can fit it in a 20x20 and it can take a 6S pack. DJI is only really for 4S. I mean, you can just get the... Yeah, I feel like buying the Air unit is a terrible idea. I don't see any reason to buy the Air unit. I feel like the Caddx Vista is like 100% the way to go. But again, I'm probably wrong there as well. Don't listen to me, guys. I never know what the hell I'm talking about. Robert Davis with a $10 super chat. Robert, thank you, dude. Super kind. He says, I'm building a 5-inch. I have 3 motor sets. T-Motor F40 Pro 2s, 1600 kV. My man. TBS Cobra 2205 2300s, old school. Gep RC 2207 2400s. Should I use one of them? Can you recommend something punchy and got some prop recommendation? So T-Motor F40 Pro 2 has been my main choice in motor for like over 2 years. It's also the only of those motors, those 3 sets of motors that you've got, that has a 23 millimeter wide stator. And a 23 millimeter wide stator handles prop wash better. It's just better. 23 millimeters is the right stator width, in my opinion, if not 24. But 24, the motor starts to get a little bit heavy. So yeah, those F40 Pro 2s for sure. Actually, I should have told you to use one of the other ones and sell me the F40 Pro 2s because they're hard to find now. But in fairness to you, Robert, you use those F40 Pro 2s. Although, here's the problem with you using those F40 Pro 2s, is you're not going to be able to get replacements. But to answer your question, yes, those are the better motor of those 3 for the record. And then prop recommendation, my favorite, and I've tested everything at the moment, are the Gemfan 5143 3s. Gemfan 51433. They're the best I've found. They're not the best at like any one individual thing, but they're the best at all the things together. They're the best mix of power, throttle resolution, durability, balance. They come in purple, which is important. And they come in black or gray, which is actually important. So yeah, there you go, Robert. Thanks again for the super chat, man. Super cool of you. Chomper FPV says, DJI has been good so far, but I'm not getting rid of my HDO2s anytime soon, to be honest. Yeah, I see that a lot, man. I see that a lot from DJI people, and that's pretty telling, right? Like if DJI was like the end all be all, I don't think anybody with DJI would have their Fat Shark still, but most people sort of hold on to their Fat Sharks like, Like, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. There are a lot of problems with the DJI system, especially in a world where analog exists. Like, it doesn't play well with analog. Most of the time when I go out and fly with people, if it's not like the core group of people that fly here, if like there's people that we don't know, at some point somebody on analog gets blasted out of the sky from DJI. And yeah, that's really annoying. So yeah, it's not all rainbows and sunshine, in my opinion. But again, I'm more than likely wrong about that. Quadzimoto says, "Thank you. You're certainly welcome." B-Man says, "I think you only notice the latency when you are someone like Steel and you're doing flips at the speed of light. For us more typical humans, it's fine." Yeah, I would like to agree with you there, B-Man, but the problem is, even though you don't notice latency, it's there. And the range of latency from what I've seen on DJI is wide enough where it will start to cause things to happen. And like, even if you're not doing quick flips and rolls, anytime that you're close to other objects, that's when latency becomes really important. And for that latency to change, like, that's my issue. Like, if it was just high latency, that would be one thing. But it's not. It varies, and that's a problem. Yeah, I don't know. Don't listen to me. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Quadzimoto says, "What Acon do you use?" I use the AK-32 30x30 and 20x20, which is pretty much all they got. Acon only really has like 2 or 3 different ESCs, and I kind of use all of them. So yeah, and for the record, like, Acon doesn't make a lot of stuff. They make a 20x20 flight controller, they make a 30x30 flight controller, they make a 20x20 ESC and a 30x30 ESC. I've used all their stuff, and it's all been bulletproof. Christ, I don't have water in here. Yeah, so like, anything that is made by Acon, in my experience, has been unbelievably good. Frank Nicholas says, most DJI FC... Are they making flight controllers? Right. Flight controllers that are made for DJI. Got it. Have BECs for the air unit, and the air unit has onboard DVR at 1080p with audio. Yeah, unfortunately, the air unit is gigantic and heavy as hell, though. So that's why I'm like, it's not for me. Yeah, it could be for you. Or you. Quadzimoto says, "Thanks for all that you do," with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Quadzimoto. Very kind of you. Freelojo says, "Blue Crude is aimed at using hydroelectric, solar, and wind for producing it." Okay. Interesting. Yeah, use a renewable, even though it's hard to pull the hydrogen out. Not hard, but it takes energy to pull the hydrogen out. If you use a renewable to do that, pretty slick. I like it. WordFPV says, "I know you're not big on AIO, but just finished a Moongoat H7 Beast 2200 kV FPV cycle motors, 5S Vista Nebula Pro build. So excited to mating it tomorrow. Fingers crossed." Very cool, WordFPV. I have... Don't go on FPV cycle right now. Bob's having a hard time with that AIO. On a couple of his builds, so just stay off of there. I'm sure you'll be fine. But yeah, stay off FPV Cycle's Facebook group, because Bob is in there screaming and yelling about it. Last time I saw it was last week, though. It's probably pushed down a million posts. Ramdanko says, 22/7 mathematical spirals would be near happy CiottiFPV to ponder pie. No mathematical spirals. I forget math, man. I used to be somewhat decent at math when I was in school, but man, you don't do, go figure, you don't do something for a long time and you forget how to do it. Where am I at? WordFPV says, by the time I got started, digital was out, so that's where I went. But what's crazy is I keep thinking about analog because of the price and because I'm so interested in racing. Oh yeah, racing too. DJI is doing a terrible job trying to get implemented into racing. I can't believe that they're not I don't know. Maybe there are physical limitations or something like that. But I would think that DJI would do whatever it had to do to just bury analog on the racing scene. But it doesn't seem like they're doing that. Although I don't pay much attention to racing, so I could be totally wrong there as well. Z says, I want DJI to have preset latency settings, 15, 20, 25, 30 for us. Yeah, see, until they have something like that, I don't know if it's for me. Ram says, sorry, I'm far too cryptic in my questions. No worries, brother. Private Island says, you do know what the hell you're talking about, Ciotti, as far as I know anyways. Thanks, brother. A lot of times it doesn't feel like it, but try my best. I come in here and I try as hard as I can every day. Z says, I thought Acon made a few major brand components and just rebrands them. I have a feeling that that's true, Z. I have a feeling that Acon makes the T-motor stuff, not the Velox, but the regular T-motor stuff. But that's just mainly, I think, that because the Acon ESCs are the only ones that don't blow up, and all of a sudden now the T-motor fancy, the nicer T-motor ESCs don't blow up. That's literally the only reason why I think that's true. But I do also know that there aren't many manufacturers. Like, there's like Airbot. Airbot makes like most of the electronics, and then they just get white labeled into other manufacturers. And then there's Acon, and I think there's maybe one more actual manufacturer. So yeah, that's where I kind of get that from, but who the hell knows? Freelojo says, misinformed, not necessarily wrong. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I am very misinformed very often. Ryzek says, Caddx Vista VTX runs off VBAT and can run off of 6S, while the air unit has to be jumped down to 4S with voltage regulator. But the OSD issue is becoming a pain in my ass, Ryzek says. Todd Stafford says, so stupid newbie question, that I might be able to handle. Assuming that you aren't flying in abandoned buildings, parking garages, etc., what kind of range approximately can I expect with analog? So Todd, believe it or not, analog is preferred for long range. The total range for analog is better, and all of the big long range, not big, but all of the really serious long range pilots fly analog, to my knowledge. Again, I could be totally wrong here. I commonly am. But realistically, with like a standard kind of analog setup, you can super easily get out a mile. And at a mile, you're going to be shitting a brick. Like, when you're a mile away, like, the whole game changes. You can't hear the quad. You don't know where the hell you are anymore because you've never seen the ground from above before. Now, when you start talking about freestyle flying, where there's, like, lots of obstacles and trees and buildings and shit, I mean, then the game becomes, how good are you at keeping your head and your antennas pointed in the correct direction, and also how good is your spatial awareness at making sure that you don't put a brick wall in between your head and the rig. And at that point, there's so many variables that it's just sort of out the window. But yeah, I mean, like, on the beach, like, I used to rip a mile down the beach, absolutely no problem, on 600 milliwatt with, was I on the Fat Sharks by that point? I might have done that on a $60 pair of Eachine VR 007s, come to think of it. Double A says, breath, give yourself more credit. You got this, bro. Thanks, dude. Private Island says, let me know if I'm wrong here. If Dobert Davis is running 4S, he should choose the higher KV ones. 4S on 1600 KV might not be the best. Oh yeah, my bad. Wow, I'm just wrong about everything tonight. Jesus. Yes. Those T-Motor F40 Pro 4s need to be on 6S. You definitely don't. Wow, Jesus, I'm a mess. Why are you guys here? Did you guys come here to get steered wrong, I guess? Just to get incorrect info all night? Wow. Jesus. Yes, thanks, Private Island, for covering the dumb guy with the camera pointed at him. Ghost Branch says, looking forward to our friendly combat mode session tomorrow. How about you? This is going to be fun. Yeah, it should be cool. It should be cool. It'll keep me from speaking about, FPV related stuff and giving bad info. So that's definitely good as well. Frank Nicholas says, define long range. 6 kilometers is easy with DJI radio control link and video. I don't know. I don't know what long range is. But from it sounds like I might have been mistaken there as well about long range. 6 kilometers is pretty far. So yeah, maybe it sounds like DJI is better for long range. So strike what I said and reverse it. DJI is the tits. It sounds like. I don't have it, so I don't know. I have to go by what other people say and what I read on the internet. And yeah, that's not the right thing to do. So let me do this. Let's not talk about DJI anymore, like pretty much on this stream, because all I'm gonna do is give bad information. So yeah, no more DJI talk. Any questions about with me tagged talking about DJI? I'm just gonna skip them because I'm just fucking up, and I don't want that. I don't want to give you guys bad info. That's something that I take very seriously, and I try really, really hard not to do, and I'm doing a really bad job of that. So all right, let's move on. Mark A says, howdy. Somatic says, I'm not a Patreon, but I just watched you struggle through an 85X V2 build back in November. How bad is it really? It's so the main issue, Somatic, is that the 85X and the 95X, it's a frame that's meant to be like this with motors and an AIO and a battery. And now we've taken that frame, we've flipped it upside down, and we're running cables all through like different directions. So it's just a nightmare to like run all the wires and like, yeah, it's really rough. I mean, I've done hundreds of builds over the years, and that was one of the worst ones ever, if not the worst ever. So yeah, it's just not a frame that's supposed to be upside down, and that causes a lot of problems. And yeah, it's just a nightmare to build it. Once it's built, maybe if you don't crash it or if the AIO doesn't blow up, you might be okay. But the AIOs tend to blow up a lot. And when you crash it, you're probably going to break that frame because it's not all that durable, and the ducts are now downwards, so the ducts are going to hit the ground first. So, yeah, it's, I don't fly it because of all these reasons, and that's tough, right? Like, yeah, it's just a rig that if I break it, I know it's going to be an absolute nightmare to fix. So, like, when I'm looking around to see what rig I'm going to bring, when I look at that, I'm like, nope, not flying that one, because I don't want to break it and have to deal with the damn thing. And that kind of sucks, you know? So, yeah, it's tough. It's a tough one. I don't have the answer. Unfortunately, Somatic. Todd Stafford says, CiottiFPV and BeepTube, thanks for the info, guys. And yeah, not really looking at long-range flying, but not really in a sprawling metropolis here. So lots of trees and open fields. Lots not lost. Yeah, you get range is, we get good range regardless of if we're on digital or analog, as long as you have a decent antenna, as long as you're paying attention to where you're, yeah, range is not an issue like it used to be. EEDoc says, all right, so that's a DJI question. I'm going to skip it. Ram Donko says, cool, credit to the community. What were we talking about, Ram? TechnoFP, that's a DJI question. I'm going to skip it. Freelojo says, we are the collective and come here because you have a camera pointed at you and sound like our brains talking to ourselves. Thanks, Freelojo, rather. Somatic says, woof. Okay, well, is there another option? Need something for indoor drone tour type stuff. I'm a big fan of Tiny Whoops, believe it or not, for indoor stuff. But the problem with them is you can only carry around Insta360 Goes. So I don't know if that's going to work for you. If you need to carry around a GoPro, this ain't going to do it. And I don't really know of a better option. I mean, what you can do is buy a pre-built one so that you don't have to deal with the initial nightmare of building it. But then if you crash it, it's going to be a pain. What else is there? I mean, you can always do like an FPV Cycle Cinesplore, and then you can carry around a full-size Hero 8 or 9 or 7 or 6 or whatever. But man, that's a lot of rig. I don't really know of a good replacement for the Beta 85/95 quite yet. Tommy's setup is really good, but it's a little bit fragile because there's a bunch of 3D printed stuff. Tommy actually talked me out of building an UMA 95 because he knows that I crash a lot. I mean, there is the Freibot QAV Cine, but it's just as heavy as the Cinesplore, so there's really no advantage there. I don't know. I haven't found something really good in that 85-95 range to carry around that I really like. Chat, if you guys have any thoughts, drop them. But yeah, I haven't seen anything that's really sort of been like the answer, and everybody just seems to be going with the Beta 85-95s, and just kind of dealing with the fact that they're a pain to work on. Hopefully, I don't know. Yeah, hopefully somebody will figure it out, and I think what we need is like a purpose-built frame. Hey, it's hard, man, because you got to keep the weight down. And keeping the weight down means it has to be like one big plastic poured molded frame, and it's expensive to pour frames. Molded frames are very expensive, and you have to make a shitload of them. So it's really tough. Somatic says, nope, need a Naked Hero 6/8. So yeah, I mean, I just don't know. An 85 will definitely do that. You wouldn't be able to do it with a 75. This is not going to comfortably carry a Naked Hero 6 or 8. But I'm at a loss. Todd Stafford says, what about the Gep RC Tiny Go? You can get it with 4K recording. Sounds like it has a like a Caddx Tarsier on board, and that's not going to work for Somatic. But maybe the frame will work. Nope, it will not. That's not a setup that's going to work for Somatic. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Doing indoor stuff though, you really have to keep the weight down because, or you got to either keep the weight down or you got to have big ass ducts. So like the Cinesplorer will get the job done for carrying a full size, but there's no if you're gonna do a naked hero, then there's no reason for something that big. But yeah, I haven't seen anything else that I really like. Techno FPV with a $5 super chat. Thank you, brother. Very kind of you. He says, just because you're the little guy of FPV, like all of us analog users, LOL, FYI earlier, it wasn't a DJI question, just a statement. Oh, okay. Well, then let me go read it. He says, FPV DJI is nice when you're a YouTuber and they send you the hardware for free. Hang in there, you're almost there. Yeah, very true. Very true. Although nothing's ever free, man. Even if they send you shit for free, there's an expectation that you're going to spend 5 or 10 hours testing it, flying it, reviewing it, doing all these things. So, nothing's free. Word FPV says, when did you know you could fly a drift competition? Or was it just, I think I can do it, so let's try? I was like 3.5 years into, no, I was about 3 years into flying at the point that, like, I found a local, like, had the thought to, like, fly one and found a local group and did it. So yeah, like, from the jump, I was, like, super comfortable doing it because I was really deep in the hobby. You know, I at that point, I had thousands and thousands of flight hours in the sim and in real life. I know what you're asking. Flying drift events is very sketchy. Very, very sketchy. And here's the most important thing. The absolute most important thing is that you are 100% sure that your gear is not going to fall out of the air. If any of your rigs that you're going to be bringing with you have fallen out of the air within the last, like, 100 batteries, do not bring those rigs with you. Because one of the saving graces about drift events is you can just cruise around at 100 feet and get really interesting footage and then cut that footage together and do it safely. Like, even as, like, a new, like, couple month in pilot, you can just kind of rove around, stay up high, and yeah. So, like, I guess also what I'll say is, if you are confident that you can fly 100 batteries in a row and not crash, then you're good, right? Like, you can't, when you start flying, there's a long time where you can get disoriented, and like I remember the first time I went to do a power loop, I got like halfway up, I got disoriented, I hammered the throttle and just thrusted myself into the dirt. If that has happened to you, like if in the goggles you've gotten disoriented in your last like 100 batteries, don't do a drift event. Like, you have to be able to totally comfortably get up in the air and not crash, right? And you have to have gear that is not gonna fall out of the sky for two big reasons. The main reason is that if you go through somebody's windshield, or if you go inside somebody's car and you're still armed, like, you can really cause damage and it can get really bad in a hurry. But also, if you go, like, chances are you're not gonna hit a car, right? Because the cars are small and the area is big. Chances are, if you do crash, you're just gonna crash, but then you're gonna get run the fuck over. And when your quad gets run over, there's nothing left. Like, don't even bother going and getting it, just get in the car and drive home. Obviously don't do that, but yeah, when a quad gets run over, there's nothing left. It may as well have gone into a goddamn wood chipper, which it kind of did. So now we start talking about actually tracking drift cars, right? And coming down in elevation once you've got 6 months in, once you've got a year into the hobby and flying a lot. And that just kind of becomes about, like, It just becomes about like your confidence level. Like what really sketches me out is when I see drift videos and the pilot is like is doing this like constant correction thing because they're so nervous and because they're, well, either because they're so nervous or because they're just not a very experienced pilot. That really sketches me out. Like, you should be able to hold a line and be able to comfortably deal with your nerves and just not have to constantly make corrections. Also, when you're constantly making corrections, the footage is useless. Like, you think it's good, but nobody else can watch it. Like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's true. When you're doing a cinematic style of flying, which drift stuff is, you have to be able to just, like, not make corrections, basically. Like, you have to be able to fly like a Mavic, and you have to be able to fly really smooth. That is the only way that the footage is going to be remotely watchable by anyone. So, yeah, like, as you get better and better and better as a pilot, basically at a drift event, you can come down lower and lower and lower. But I guess one of the easiest things is if you go to a drift event and you find yourself like nervous and or making corrections every like second, every half a second, every 2 seconds, you need to be up higher. You need to get more elevation so that you can get your nerves under control and so that you can fly in a cinematic way. And that's gonna kill two birds with one stone, right? It's gonna make your footage somewhat viewable, and it's also going to keep you from fucking up and smashing full throttle into somebody's windshield. Some of these guys wear open face helmets, right? So if you get disoriented and you go full throttle into the driver's side window and he's got an open face helmet on, don't do that. So yeah, it's sketchy. It's definitely sketchy flying drift events. Like, don't like, do not misunderstand that. And it's dangerous. You have to take that seriously. And you have to have flown a lot to even just be able to get your nerves under control in a situation like that. Because even if you go do it and you think you're going to be fine, you're not. You're going to be real nervous. But if you go and you put your shit up in the air and you're like, you can just land, right? Like, you can just land and be like, nope, this ain't for me. I'm not ready yet. And I think it kind of needs to be that. I think it does kind of need to be, you guys need to make the decision for yourselves. But yeah, hopefully that helped. Hopefully that's some like real no bullshit feedback for you. I mean, just to show myself out and to just also give you an example. This is the first drift event that I did, and I'm not gonna play the audio from it because it's copyrighted audio. But to give you some idea of where I was as a pilot when I did my first drift event, this is not where I think that you guys need to be. Like, I don't think you need to be this comfortable as a pilot and or this skilled or whatever as a pilot when you do your first drift event, but just to give you the barometer of, because a part of the question was, you know, where were you at, I think, when you did your first event. This is where I was as a pilot, and this is what I was able to do. And like, this is pretty rare. Like, most people's first drift event, they haven't been flying this long. I mean, that's really all it is, right? Like, my skill, it's not really that. It's just that I've been doing it for a long time. Like, as a pilot, 99% of this getting good thing is just doing it over and over and over and over and over again. Like, as soon as any one of you guys have flown as much as I have, you'll probably be a lot better than me. Get shareable link. Maybe that'll work. Yeah, this will work. So yeah, here's where I was. This is where I was as a pilot when I did my first. For some reason, I thought the mic wasn't on. Come on. Yeah, so I was already very comfortable, and again, thousands and thousands and thousands of batteries, in which again, you don't need to be this deep into FPV to do to go to your first drift event, but don't do this, right? Like I was able to get down this low and to get this close because my nerves weren't shot and because I was comfortable with what I was doing. I also have a pretty deep background in motorsports, so I know the way that cars move around. I know the way that, like, there's just a body language to cars, and I'm very familiar with that body language because I've been in that world for a long time. So this comes very naturally to me. And yeah, I don't know, just respect it and just understand that it's a dangerous kind of thing, and don't try to do this shit here unless you're really, really comfortable with it. And trust your gut to some extent. Although that kind of goes out the window with younger guys, which is what kind of scares me. I was 38 years old by this point, and when I've found that, like, in my 30s, my body's ability to be like, dude, this is sketchy, chill, got a lot better. Whereas when I was 18, 19 years old, I didn't have that. It was like that kind of flying would not have seemed sketchy to me. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was 18 years old, even if my skill level wasn't there. So it's tough, man. It's a really good question. It's a really good conversation to have too. Thanks for asking that word. Great question. Metal Dirtskin says, I have a Ripsqueak Speed Freak edition on 2.5-inch props with guards. Will carry a Go 2, might carry a naked GoPro, more testing needed. The problem, Metal Dirtskin, and the struggle that I have in suggesting something to Somatic is keeping the guards and the props out of view with the naked GoPro. And I don't even think that there is a naked GoPro mount for the Ripsqueak. But yeah, that's something that's kind of tripping me up, trying to figure out, because I had that thought. I thought Ripsqueak Micro, but I don't think there's a way to get the if he's going to be carrying a naked GoPro, it's going to need to be on 3-inch props, and I don't think there's going to be a way to keep those props out of view at a low camera angle. At a 30-degree camera angle, sure. But for doing indoor house tour stuff, you need to be like 5 degrees, maybe 10 degrees. And I can all but guarantee that the props on the Ripsqueak will be in view. RC Ritter says, Diatone Hey Tina Whoop. I don't know if that's going to have the horsepower, but that's an interesting idea. That might be something to look at, Somatic. Take a look at the Diatone Hey Tina Whoop. Ram says, I've mounted the Tarsier in a new cage, fits on the 95X, just signals now bloody FPV. What does that mean, Ram? I was with you until just signals now bloody FPV. Somatic says, what about the 85X V1? That's the build that you saw, Somatic. That's the rig that I don't fly, because if it breaks, I'm not willing to repair it because it's just such a nightmare. The V2 and the V3 are no better. They are all seemingly just a total train wreck to repair. I mean, it's doable though. Like, that's the thing, right? Like yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in FPV that's a pain in the ass. So, like, you might just want to do it. You know what I'm saying? And just deal with it. Because you're not going to break it often, because you're not flying it like a freestyle rig, right? You're flying it slowly. So it's not going to break as often. Although the AIOs are really, really hit or miss. So it could break often. the AIOs could just cook over and over again, like what happens to a lot of people. So I don't know. Z says, do you have any FPV pet peeves? For instance, mine is the incorrect way most people / manufacturers mislabel motor mounting dimensions. 16 by 16 is not the same as 16 millimeter diameter. Oh my God, Z. That is not a conversation you want to get me started on. I have a limitless amount of pet peeves in FPV. I mean, yeah, there's a lot. I have a lot of issues with a lot of things. Motor manufacturers with micro motors refusing to use 3mm motor shafts. 5-inch motors all being too heavy. 2306s should be 30 grams. I don't understand why they're all 33 grams now. That's insane. That's stupid. I'm gonna leave it there because that could be like the next 2 hours of this stream is me just screaming and yelling about FPV pet peeves. Just keep watching the stream, Z. I at least once or twice a stream I get on a rant and scream and yell about something. Rizex in all capitals says, has anyone heard about Hobbywing ESCs being able to update to the new BLHeli 32 firmware? I think it was Rizex the other night that we were talking about 32.8 was saying that the Hobbywing ESCs weren't able, which is... I don't like Hobbywing anyway. I've had a terrible experience with Hobbywing ESCs. They've just blown up as... Hobbywing ESCs have been no more reliable than like $25 Racer Star ESCs in my experience, which is ridiculous. And I know that a lot of pro pilots that are sponsored by Hobbywing say that Hobbywing ESCs are great, but I don't really run into many folks who are not sponsored by Hobbywing that say that they've had good experiences with Hobbywing ESCs. So yeah, I don't know what the hell they're doing over there, but they need to get their shit together because this new BLHeli firmware is real good. Hey, let's well, no, I'm almost caught up. I'm gonna get caught up on chat, and then I'm gonna do another video for you guys to see a little bit more of some flight footage from BLHeli 32.8. Todd Stafford says, don't know if this would meet his needs, but as it doesn't have prop guards for indoor flying, yeah, he needs prop guards, but it can carry a naked GoPro Lumineer QAVS Mini 3-inch. Yeah, I mean, he could do that. But the problem's going to be the same as the Ripsqueak in that with the naked GoPro up here at a really low camera angle, like 5 degrees, for example, there's going to be props in view. He really needs a very specific like Cinewhoop type platform to get the props out of view. You could do, this is the for anybody not keeping score, this is the QAVS Mini, and yeah, not gonna work. But what I was about to say is he could do GEP-RC makes prop guards that would work on this, but again, the prop guards would be in view of the naked GoPro, unfortunately. I'm gonna keep thinking about it. I'll think of something somatic. Double A says, I was just thinking you might not even want to look at that quad that Chuck has. It's a little ripper with 4K. What quad that Chuck has? You might not even want to look at that quad that Chuck has. Okay, YouTube just did the thing. Oh no, I'm good though. Random FPV says, hit the thumbs up, people. CiottiFPV works hard for our entertainment. At least you can do to give him a thumbs up. Thanks, brother. Much appreciated. Yeah, and if you want to get more of these Patreon only streams for free, click subscribe, click the bell. YouTube's notification system is awful, so you'll probably miss most of these. And then you'll hopefully get frustrated enough to come on over to my Patreon channel and give me $3 of your dollars every month. And then you'll get email notifications and Discord notifications every single day that I do a Patreon stream, which is pretty much every day now. So Z says 3mm rotor shafts is because the T-mounting is a 5mm diameter, so your T-mount holes would be 0.5 millimeters of metal between your shaft. T-mount holes would be 0.5 of metal between your shaft. Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that. So they would need to, they could still do it, but they would need to reduce the 3 mil down right above the bearing, which would still work. You would still get the benefits of the 3mm shaft. That's a really good point. Yeah, they wouldn't usually they reduce it down at the top of the bell, but they would need to reduce it down farther downwards to make room for the T-mount female threaded holes. So they could still do it, but yeah, you're totally right about that. They would, yeah, all of that makes sense too. Now that I think about it, there are a couple micromotors that have 3mm motor shafts, but they're all M5 nut. Which, I'll be honest, I would take that. I would be willing to deal with that. I would, if all of the micromotors went to M5 shaft. Or even like M3 shaft. I can't say that. Never mind. Moving on. Yes. There's something coming if you couldn't figure it out from the context just now. But yes, they could do 3mm rotor shafts. They would just have to. Make new molds, basically. They would have to put the money in. And the problem with micro components is we expect to pay less for it because it's smaller, but for the manufacturers, it costs the exact same amount of money to make. So with micro stuff, they tend to not, it seems like, at least from what I've heard in the industry and seen, it seems like they tend to not innovate because they just don't have the money, like, right? Like, there's just not the R&D dollars because we expect to pay $10 for a micromotor or less. Good point, Z. Ramdonko says, "Yep, Cinna hope it don't break often, but have smashed it up in my learning curve." I think we're talking about the 95X RAM, perhaps. Z says, same for me on the Hobbywing front. See, it's not just me, people. Z referring to the fact that Z, it sounds like, also has had a really negative experience with Hobbywing ESCs being not reliable, which is what I was talking about a minute ago. Metal Urchin says, maybe the 4-inch version of the QAVS, as the arms are more dead cat, you could run 3-inch props with guards. I'll let you know soon, Metal, because FPV Crate is sending me one. Is sending me one of the QAVS's with the 4-inch dead catted arms. Really good thought there. Yeah. Yeah. Double A says, it's linked above and I will remove if you want me to remove. No, I don't remove anything. Screw that. What's linked above? What's linked? I don't see a link. Somebody Oh, there it is. There it is. Copy link address. Man learns to use the internet. Live at 5. I didn't do a good job. I hit the wrong copy option. Maybe that's the right copy option. Things are not going well. Open link in new tab. Come on, internet. Nope. What if I just grab... I think you can just grab that and then find things on YouTube, right? Let's see. Tell me what to search for, and I'll search for it. Here we go. Is this the one? Is this it here? 2 weeks ago? What did AA say about it? Little Ripper with 4K. Toothpick Maiden, 4K split. Yeah, this is probably the one. MD95. So it's a 95. So what? It's a 2.5 inch, 2.5 inch ish toothpick. Yeah, it looks like it's moving around pretty good. I mean, 2.5 inch is easy to put a to put 4K in though, right? Like that's the both of these Rip Squeaks that I've got can run 2.5 inch, and then I've also got that CB 2.5 that you can easily just drop a run cam split or a Caddx Tarsier into. Looks pretty good. No props in view. I don't know how it's a toothpick without props in view. That's pretty interesting. Although down here it says TP3, so it looks like it's a 3 inch. But yeah, it moves around pretty good. It flies like a toothpick. They have a very specific flight characteristic to them, in that they're just ultra lightweight with big propellers, so they kind of go up in the air and just stay there, which a lot of people like that. I like that flight style for a long time. AA says MD95 TSI is the one that built it for me. Oh, okay. 3 caps. Oh my god. What's up, Xenakis? Nevin's in the house. I talked about the Baby Hawk a little bit. The new Baby Hawk looks pretty interesting, man. 4mm frame. The frame design looks pretty good. I wish they'd put a little bit bigger of a motor on there. The 3.5 inch propellers are really interesting. I'm pretty shocked by it. It's not for me because I'm on analog, but for you DJI folks, that looks like a hell of a little rig. Yeah, I mean, there's you could probably put an Insta360 Go 2 on top and still get pretty good flight characteristics. And yeah, that'd be a little weapon. The motors are definitely a little too small for me. I would really rather have like a 1504.5 or maybe something even bigger. But other than that, yeah, man, I'm pretty impressed by that. Emax it seems they did a pretty good job on it. It does have an AIO, which I think is terrible. But you know, I seem to be the only one that that cares about flight performance when it comes to micros. And AIOs just really don't have good flight performance because they've got too many wires connected to them. But yeah, fun to just rip around, that's for sure. And that 4mm frame, my god, that's going to be just bomb-proof. Lost my place in the chat. I am trying to figure out where I was. There we go. Mikhail says, would a tiny trainer carry an Insta360 Go well? Mine did. It did a pretty good job carrying it. The issue that I had with it is there was always props in view. And if I'm going to carry an expensive HD camera around, there's not going to be props in view. So I ended up moving my tiny trainer along. In my opinion, the tiny trainer is a very specific thing for a very specific purpose, which is spec class racing. If you want to carry an Insta360 Go around, pretty much all the other frames are going to be better at doing that. My current favorite is the BQE Rip Squeak Micro, but yeah, the tiny trainer is a specific. It's the right tool for a very specific job. and that job is not carrying an Insta360 Go. So yeah, I mean, like if you already have one and you don't care about props in view, then yeah, as long as you have powerful enough motors on it, I should say, high enough kV motors, it'll be absolutely fine. But if you don't have a tiny trainer, I would definitely not get a tiny trainer if you're looking to carry an Insta360 Go around, unless you're also looking to get into the spec racing thing with it. If you're not looking to do spec racing, the tiny trainer specific spec racing, I really don't. I can't think of a reason to get it. Maybe if you just really like the way it looks and you just want to have something that looks like a tiny DRL racer, no judgment from me, man. I buy tons of things because they look cool and because they'll look neat sitting on the wall. I mean, Christ, that's like a $500-600 helmet that just sits there and collects dust. And there's another one on this side, off the side of the frame. I mean, when I bought them, I was using them, but there's absolutely no reason for me to not sell the damn things. I'll probably never drive a race car again to need one, but whatever. Z says T-Motor has that weird 2mm shaft with the 6mm T-mounting. Oh, that's true. But my solution is using threaded M2 or M3 motor shafts and lock nuts. Threaded M2 or M3 motor shafts and lock nuts. Yeah, I mean, what I caught myself from saying is similar to that, and that's all. I'm gonna leave it. LCVFPV saying something that is, yeah, driving towards the same thing. Okay, so I guess I can say something. I thought that it was in the I'm in like 3 groups of Tommy's. 2 of the groups are like R&D prototype groups, Facebook groups, and then one of his groups is a public group, and I always get it all mixed up. So it sounds like this is like 4 of you that know about it. Yeah, Tommy is working on micromotors with, instead of M5 nut shafts up on top, M3 nut shafts up on top, which could be the answer. So yeah, that's what I caught myself from saying earlier, and a bunch of you guys are talking about. So yeah, maybe that'll be the new thing. The problem is going to be propeller selection, in that there are none. So yeah, maybe there'll be like an adapter, but with an adapter, that's going to be a really heavy hub, like an M5 hub propeller with an adapter to then go down to 3mm. That is a lot of dead weight for no reason in that propeller hub. So realistically, we're going to need to wait even after the motors come out for some good prop selections. We'll see. I gotta go get something to drink. I was hoping to get caught up on chat. I'm like on the brink of my voice just imploding. So let me give you guys something else to watch real quick here. This is from today, same rig, but when I'd switched over to GemFan 5143s. No, sorry, different rig, different camera. GemFan 5143s. It's an identical rig, though. I'll be right back. So weird. BLHeli 32.8, by the way. So like when I jump off the throttle, look how absolutely locked in it is. Wait a second, this is what I played in the opening of the stream, isn't it? My bad. My bad, that's not what I wanted to show you guys. This is what I wanted to play. Here's a little bit more that you haven't actually seen.
Pro 2s.
I think there was a blade missing. There was either one or two entire blades missing. Hey! Huh! That was fucking dirty. Close. So close. Yeah, so this is the rig with the Foxy or Predator Nano V4. And I just fly better with it. It's gotta be that camera. It's gotta be the camera. I just feel much more comfortable with this rig. It's weird. Oh. Ooh! Ooh! Wop, 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 wop! Watch this one. I chickened out at the last second. I was gonna give it a blast and go through there backwards, but I was like, nah, not worth it. Nothing really good going on before or after that to edit it. I wish I could have pulled that off. I think that was about it. All right, back into the chat we go. I'm gonna have to change the name of the stream to take out glide repair. Nah, we'll still do the glide repair. Oh wow, no we won't. Holy cow, it's almost 2 hours already? Yeah, this is gonna be a Q&A stream. That's all right. Where am I at in chat here? Schwergust. Come on, YouTube, really? Schwergustov says, put a naked GoPro on an Acrobat Duo. Same problem, Schwer. There's going to be props in view. Any freestyle rig is going to have the front motors ahead of the camera, of the FPV and the camera line. And that's just not going to work for very low up tilt, unfortunately. Especially once you then put guards on it. So yeah, Somatic is going to really need a Cinewhoop. It's just going to have to be a specific Cinewhoop build to run low up tilt, no guards in view. And there just aren't many of them, right? Like, most of the Cinewhoops are 3-inch. And then Beta FPV came out with the pushers, and like not many other people like are bothering to compete, which is kind of annoying. But it is still kind of a new thing, all things considered, right? Like a year ago it didn't exist. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get some better stuff sooner than later. Good call though, Schwer. Good thought on that one for sure. Somatic says, a slammed squirt can do almost everything I need, but I need a naked GoPro rig with 2 to 2.5 inch props. I'll keep digging, but it sounds like there's room for innovation. There certainly is. There's no reason to do a slammed squirt. The FPV Cycle Cinesplore is better in pretty much every way, but it's just overkill. It's just absolute overkill for a naked GoPro. You're on the right track, man. 2 to 2.5 inch props, like stay the course on that. In my opinion, try for 2-inch props because you're just going to continue to bring the weight down. And that's going to be important for doing home tour stuff because you just really want as little weight as possible because you just don't want that momentum. You want to be able to drive it around like an RC car. So yeah, you're in the ballpark. Zanaka says, I was hoping there'd be a good bind and fly for the DJI folk starting out, in reference to the new Baby Hawk. That's a really good point, Nevin. The new Baby Hawk is a perfect bind and fly for new DJI people. I mean, just DJI people in general. I'm pretty impressed with that new Baby Hawk. With a set of these Brother Hobby 1504s on there with a proper KV. That thing could be gnarly. You could bail on those stupid 3.5 inch props and do like a 3-inch prop, and that thing would be really nasty. Double A says, I agree with CiottiFPV on this one, and I have one and am a fan. However, it is built for the circuit. What were we talking about, Double A? I have one and I am a fan. However, it is built for the circuit. We talking cars, Double A? Built for the circuit. Oh, Tiny Trainer. Right. Tiny Trainer. Yes. Mikhail says, I've been mainly freestyling my Tiny Trainer for more than a year, thinking about the Apex 4-inch because I'm a park flyer, and I like the 3-inch trainer for its discreetness / performance. Yeah, it's an interesting little rig. It really is. But like, as somebody who's built and seen and been like the micro guy in FPV for the last like 4 years, it's there's a lot of other frames that are stronger, don't require you to run an AIO, top mount battery. Like there's a lot of things that other frames do better than the Tiny Trainer. Not saying that the Tiny Trainer isn't a perfectly good frame. It's a specific, it's just not a freestyle frame. And specifically built freestyle frames, yeah, crash better, allow you to run a 20x20 stack, which will perform a lot better and be a lot cheaper. Top mount battery is a big deal. More battery options, right? The Tiny Trainer, you have to have that crazy 3D printed ball sack on the bottom for the batteries. So yeah, not to say that it can't do freestyle stuff. It's just there are other options that are better for someone who hasn't bought the frame yet. That's all I'm saying. BeepTube says, it's pretty incredible flying. Thanks, brother. YouTube did the thing. Patio Patterson says, taking it easy on that rig. LOL. Yeah, spots like that. Well, here's what's funny, though. Spots like that, where they're small and they're technical, you can go hard like that because you're not generating a ton of ground speed. So like, even though I'm bouncing off a shit like a ping pong ball there, I'm only doing that at like 10 or 15 or 20 miles an hour, and the glide frame can easily handle that. Like I blew up one motor today, but the frame is absolutely fine. And the motor that I blew up was on a direct hit. Like there's a big gnarly mark in the top of the prop nut from where it hit concrete. So yeah, and like the GoPro mount didn't really take much abuse. The GoPro is totally fine. So on those smaller, more technical spots, you can fly really hard like that, and it looks like you're doing a lot of damage, but you actually aren't in this weird way. You're going to bend a lot of propellers. Usually you can bend them back, and you are going to break motors because eventually you're going to hit a motor perfectly wrong on concrete, and that's just going to bend the bell and it's game over. But what you're not going to do is break GoPros. Well, at least Sessions. You'll probably break Heroes because they're awful. But with the GoPro Session, I can fly a spot like that and crash like you just saw 1,000 times, and the Session won't give a shit. The Sessions blow up when you smack them into concrete from 30 stories up at like 100-mile-an-hour fall speed. So yeah, it's interesting. Like as you, I don't know. There's like metas inside of metas inside of metas in this hobby, and durability is a big meta that I focus on. And yeah, it's really spot dependent. And it's mainly also ground speed dependent. Like when I'm at a spot and I find myself like railing through a certain section, like really burying the nose and going fast, like that area of that spot, I will kind of like, okay, like let me not go nuts here because I'm generating enough velocity to destroy a $160 Session 5. Whereas something like that, where it's all tight, I'm just like, fuck it, send this thing. It's not going to break the GoPro. Motors are cheap. Propellers are cheap. Let's make something gnarly happen. Here's another battery because I want to drink a little bit more water. This is another battery from the rig with the Caddx camera that I don't fly as good with, and the less powerful propellers. You should really be able to see the lack and hear the lack of power from these T-Motor 4943 propellers. What you were just watching was GemFan 5143s on the rig with the Predator Nano 4, which I just really connect well with that rig. I think it's the camera. So yeah, notice the difference in thrust and my comfort level in this next little... Really? This computer is gonna be the death of me. Here we go. Oh, but hey, also notice the throttle resolution. Since these propellers make less power, the throttle resolution is brilliant, so I can do a lot of like really subtle flying. You'll see what I mean. It was almost like I did that on purpose. See that? See how hard it was to pull out of that dive? That was a lack of power. I really noticed it there, and I really got pissed off. Hear how hard I'm having to hang on the throttle to get that thing back over there? But look at this. Look at this tight work. Because they have great, since they don't have any power in the throttle throw, you can at least use the throttle throw for that subtle stuff. That is Rusty Signal FPV. Everybody go sub to Rusty Signal FPV. I was like, yo, I'm gonna power loop you. That was, we were yelling back and forth the whole time. It had just recently rained, and those trees were very obviously all filled with water. So when I went up on top of the treetops there, I almost lost video. It was crazy. Hear how long I have to hang on the throttle to get it to change directions? Just like, yeah. S3s are like that. It's one of the peanut butter and jelly props are like that too. That's why I don't like them. I don't want to have to hang on the throttle on full throttle for that long. The Gemfin 5143s are they just make a lot more power at full throttle, but they still give you a beautiful amount of throttle resolution. At this point, I was starting to get really frustrated with the lack of power. Enough of that. All right. So yeah, you guys get the picture, right? You can you tell? You can tell. I'm sure you guys can tell. Those are T-Motor 4943s. If you don't need, if you like not having power, basically, if you like the peanut butter and jelly props or the S3s. You're gonna love these, but if you want more efficiency, T-Motor 4943s, they'll be exactly what you want, but they're not for me. Techno FPV says, you call that better than the flying you did with the rat tail. I guess not. Don't ding me for the crashes. The crashes are me just calming down. KVFPV says, I agree with the Cinesplorer being OP. I have my SMO on it for long-ass flight times. Yeah, I imagine that. Padawan FPV says, options on the new Insta360 Go 2. I see some people having jello issues and holding out on the Caddx Peanut version. Yeah, Tommy put a video up today having some weird vibes in the FPV stabilized. But, so I've done a lot of flying with the original Insta360 Go, and just HD cameras on micros in general, and it's a really big issue. Like the reason why my micro builds and my build lists down below of micro gear that I run is so small is because getting jello out of HD footage from micros is really hard, like really, really, really difficult. There are not many parts that you can put together in a build to really do that. And it takes a good amount of back and forth and R&D and stuff like that. So I don't think the Insta360 Go 2 is the problem, is what I'm kind of trying to say. I think it's just, yeah, you got to have a really, really dialed in rig to not have any vibrations for any of these small HD cams. The Caddx Peanut version is probably not going to be any better, but maybe it will be. It's tough. So yeah, I don't know. More testing coming soon on, and at some point, hopefully, I'll get me an Insta360 Go 2, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. It's man, $300 is a lot of money. Remy Tim says, last night I finished building a 3-inch racer using almost all the parts I run in your giveaways over the last year. Nice. Pumped on it, 254 grams all-up weight with a 4S850. Oh my God. That's a good all-up weight. That's a big that's a good all-up weight for that big of a battery. He says, can't wait to maiden it. Very cool, Daniel. That's super awesome. You built it with all giveaway stuff. If you want to get in on my giveaways, all you got to do is join the Patreon channel. Go to CiottiFPV.com. The very top button is Patreon. Once you get over to Patreon, you'll see all the different tiers and the different options and stuff like that. So we are now over 2 hours, so I'm going to wrap this thing up as soon as I get caught up on chat. So Shuar Gusov says, have you tried the RunCam Hybrid 2? I think the FPV cam on it is a Phoenix Nano. I think you're right, Shuar. I have not tried the Hybrid 2. I have like 3 of the original hybrids, so I don't really need another RunCam Hybrid. And apparently the HD is no different on the Hybrid 2, and all I really care about is the HD. I think that the FPV cam in the Hybrid 1 is totally fine. I don't have any issues with it. So yeah, I won't be buying one of the RunCam Hybrid 2s, and nobody really sends me anything for review. But I mean, if you're gonna buy a RunCam Hybrid, you might as well buy the 2. You probably can't even get the 1 anymore. The 1 was discounted for a little bit, which was interesting. Ram Donko says, got it, but well ripped. Very good. Appreciate it, Ram. Impressive, even underpowered. Yeah, I would much rather have an underpowered propeller and or setup than an overpowered setup. It is you can do way more things with an underpowered setup than an overpowered setup, in my opinion. Metadirtskin says, I think the 4943s were partly for that frame FPV crate put out several months back where 5.1 and some 5.0s would hit the standoff the Stark. You are correct, it is the Stark, but those 4943s came out long before the Stark. They were T-Motor's answer to the S3, basically, were the 4943s. The Stark would clear any of the regular old 5.0 propellers, just not the 5.1s. And it looks like the last comment of the night is from Boost in JDM. He says, is that little pop at the top of your loops you correcting for rotating too far? It is not boosting, although that's a really interesting thought. So basically it's covering up the throttle chop bobble. When you jump off the throttle, up until, and it's still doing it a little bit, but BLHeli 32.8 is now out, and it's on both of the rigs that I was just flying. So when you're hard on the throttle and you jump off the throttle, something happens to the propellers called backflow, where like you're accelerating like crazy, and then you tell these motors to brake as much as they can, and like the air kind of it goes from being driven to, it kind of changes directions over the propeller, and it causes a little bit of instability. The new BLHeli is better at dealing with it, but it still exists. So the easiest way that we've all been getting around it is every time you chop the throttle, you give an input on the right stick. Maybe that's roll, maybe that's pitch, but you do a little snap. And so it covers up that little bobble, but it also gets some of the rotation out of the way. So that if you come up, so like let's say you want to do like a look back, right? So you come up, if you just slowly push the pitch stick forward, if you just jump off the throttle and slowly push the pitch stick forward, you're going to get a little bit of a bobble from that instability, and then you're just going to spend the whole move turning around, and then you're going to be all the way up here by the time you're looking backwards. Whereas if you come up and you do a little snap, you can get like 90 degrees of rotation out of the way really quickly, and then you can slowly look back, and now you're looking back this entire time, right? So it's a way of just getting a chunk of the rotation out of the way really quickly, so that you can show more of so like with a look back, it's specifically because I want to look back. When you do it with the roll axis, I like it because you can snap a part of the move, and then you can roll more slowly through the rest of the move. And when you roll slowly, it's easier for your eye. It just looks better because your eyes are more easily able to kind of see what the hell's going on. Whereas if you just come off the throttle and do like a static roll the whole time, it's kind of like, whoa, like you have to roll faster, right? So I prefer the look of like snap to get some of it out of the way, and then nice and slow, versus just like an even rotation like a fighter jet the whole time. I think I just got a carbon fiber splinter. Oh god, there's grass all over the desk now. Really good question, Boost and JDM. That's the kind of stuff that I like talking about. That's the kind of stuff that I like to work with you guys on in the Fiverr sessions for flight instruction. And there's no wrong answer. Like, some people don't like the look of that snap, but I like to teach it to people and force them to do it because it's a tool. And it's, yeah, like that's what I really love, is that level of like piloting and that level of like looking at your footage and being like, what can I do to make this look better, or to give myself more time to complete this rotation so that I don't keep hitting the ground at the end of it, and stuff like that. I'll do just these last three because I love you guys that much. Mikhail says, best motor /battery setup for my first 5-inch FPV cycle glide coming from 3-inch trainer. Okay, for motors, it's really hard to beat the Newbie Drone Flow 2306.5s at the moment. It's a $12 per motor titanium shaft motor. No other titanium shaft motor is that cheap. So it's really hard to not get those. I would like to also recommend as a premium option the T-Motor F40 Pro 4, but there's a little bit of weirdness going on with the Pro 4 right now, and I'm kind of waiting on T-Motor to ship me a replacement set of a new run that has apparently fixed this problem. So I'm not gonna recommend the F40 Pro 4 until I get those, until I crash them really hard to see if they actually fix the problem. Battery, I really like the new Tattoo R-Line 6S 1050 version 4, or for your cheap option, Ovonic 1000 mAh 6S. No. I take it all back. Sorry, I totally forgot. My new favorite battery, Heli Direct 6S, Heli Nation, Jesus. Heli Nation, it's their Talon. Their in-house line of stuff is called Talon. So it's the Talon 6S 1150. That's my new favorite battery. I'm going to be buying a bunch of those. Techno FPV says, I was just kidding. The next rip was a hell of a rip. I wish I could find a nice place like that to rip in Jacksonville, Florida. Techno, I bet you can. You just got to look. Here's the secret. You have to go look for spots a lot. It helps to have other people in the area that are hardcore into freestyle. But I shit you not. I know that sounds insane, but like when I used to live in Charleston, I would go out at least once a week on my lunch break. I would eat my lunch at my desk while I was working, and then as soon as my hour-long lunch break started, I would get in the car and I would just go, and I would drive a half an hour out, and then a half an hour, and I would drive for a half an hour, just look for spots the whole time. Wouldn't fly. I would only look for spots. I would specifically go out for an hour looking for spots. And I found them. And Charleston doesn't have many spots. That I know it seems like also very obvious, but like it's true. You have to just go out and just put time into finding spots, and eventually you'll find spots like that. Atlanta is like cheating because there's a shitload of FPV pilots here, but like, think of it this way, right? There's no reason that Atlanta would have more interesting spots to fly than any other city. You know what I mean? Like, the difference in Atlanta is there's a lot of people going out and looking for spots. So you just have to do that. And it just takes time, dude. Like, I probably have like over 100 hours of time spent just driving around in Charleston looking for spots. It's annoying, but you just have to do it, and it's worth it because you'll find some really dope spots. You just got to get out and drive around. Some people like to fart around with Google Maps. I don't find that to be. A lot of times when I'm doing that, I'll find a spot that looks amazing and I'll drive out to it. I'm like, no, this is stupid. I just have better luck driving, just getting in the car and just driving, and just like I'll like pick a road and I'll just like drive all the way down that road for a half an hour. And then turn around, and the whole way just look, and then the next week I'll pick another road and just drive a half an hour down that road and just look. Try not to crash into the car in front of me. Last comment of the night is from FPV Trucker. He says, finished my 4-inch QAV-S tonight, 301 grams with an 850 mAh battery. I am jealous, FPV Trucker. You got a 4-inch QAV-S mini before I did. Damn you. I've been waiting on FPV Crate to put the arms up, and I don't know if they ever are. I think they're just going to sell the frame. Thanks for hanging, fellas. Here's one more rip to close the stream out. I'm going to put some Epidemic Sounds on top of this. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern for Velocity in combat mode. And should be fun. Happy Restless. What's this? Let me check these songs. Let me check the song to make sure it's not terrible. I'm glad I checked because this one sucks. This one's alright. It's called 1-800-DIRTY. That fits. Here comes 1-800-DIRTY, ladies and germs. Come on, computer. Really? Here you guys go.
Quad, flying.
Very descriptive. See you tomorrow.
System.